Camera number 375 is the Minolta X-700, which features the Minolta program system. It's a full SLR camera but requires batteries to operate, and the batteries are housed in the little compartment on the base. So let's get two LR44s. So here we have the two LR44s with the positive terminal outwards, which then goes into the camera. And in fact, interestingly, in the base there you probably can just see a little plus sign, so that's a helpful reminder that the positive goes into the base of the camera. And then while I'm doing the base up, or the battery compartment up, you'll notice that there's provision to fit a motor wind for the camera with the terminals, tripod mount, and then our little release that releases the film advance so that we can manually rewind our film back into our camera. It is a kind of full manual camera in the sense that we wind our film on, have to rewind our film back into our canister, so no wind on, unless of course you've got the motor wind on attached to the base of the camera. So looking at the front, we have the lens, which is an MD lens, Minolta lens, which really utilises all the features of the camera. You can fit an MC lens, but then you are restricted to aperture and manual modes, whereas with the MD you can plug into the program mode as well. So something to bear in mind. So to release the lens, we have the lens release here. We just press that and release the lens. And then in terms of what's on the front, we only have one button that does two things. If we lift it up, it has a self-timer, so let's just try that. I haven't actually tried that. So now we have to turn the camera on, and around the collar of the shutter speed dial there is a little lever, if you call it, which is our on and off button. So there's on. And then now that we've got the self-timer, hopefully the self-timer light will light up and count down approximately 10 seconds and then take the image, and then we can see the mirror go up. There we go, so that's good, fully functional there. If we put it down, the lever or the button also, if it's pressed down, can lock our exposure, so an auto exposure lock button. So the idea, I suppose, is to use your first finger to take the shutter, and then our second finger can press that down. That's pretty much it on the front of the lens, apart from, if we go the other side, we have a cable release, which is a Minolta cable release, and then our preview button. Again, it's a manual lever that engages and then closes down the aperture when we're in aperture priority mode, according to the manual, and manual mode. So whether it doesn't work in program mode, I'm not sure, but that's what the manual says. So we put our lens back on, just line up the two red dots, and then coming to the top plate we have our film advance, our film shutter button, our frame counter. There is another window there and a button here. Now the button enables us to take our program mode or aperture priority mode, release that, and then we can go into manual mode. Once it's in aperture priority, it's locked, so to unlock it we press it, and then we can put it into program mode and it's locked. But if we put it into manual, then we get the full range of shutter speeds that go from 1/1000th of a second down to bulb. We've mentioned around the collar the on-off button, which also has a third position, which is on with a audio beeps, I believe. I don't know whether that accounts for the self-timer. Yes, it does. There we go. So there's the audio beeps, if we want those, but we can turn those off, of course. There we go. Okay, we've mentioned that, the collar, the release. There's a little button or a little lever here. I'm not quite sure what that is, to be perfectly honest. I will go and investigate. So according to the manual, it is a safe load signal. It monitors the correct film advance. So presumably, if there were a film in here, I could see that it would move, showing me that the film is being advanced. And that's good. All right, so I didn't notice that. That's a useful feature. On the left-hand side, we have our film rewind crank, which when we lift it, releases the film door, and then we can put our film into our canister. No DX coding, so we can choose our film speeds, and the way we do that is by lifting the collar and then rotating the dial in the normal fashion. And then if we release the button, we can dial in +2 or -2 exposure compensation. And then when that is on, looking through the viewfinder, you do actually get a little indication down the right-hand side, which is where we see our shutter speeds. And in the bottom here, we see our aperture, so we have a full readout of information, which is nice. And then our split prism for focusing our image in the middle. So there we go. I think that's pretty much all of the functions of the camera. I think I've covered. I didn't mention that, did I? Flash synchronization port. There we go. Okay, so that's a brief rundown of the camera. Looking forward to using it. I have the 28mm lens. I'm planning to use just the one lens, and well, we'll see how we get on. But there's the Minolta X-700.